cast from the coast.
There's no more room in hell. The dead will walk here.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Here's Johnny.
She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
This 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
The boogeyman is real, and you found him.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Have you checked the children?
Welcome everybody to episode 33 of They Cast from the Coast, the cult and horror web series from Eastern Canada. My name is Adam Miles, and I have with me as always, Tim! I'm not a doctor, but I'll take a look. Johnson!
I like how, obviously it's a reference to, but it makes me sound very creepy.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And that's why I'm laughing, because
I'm not a doctor, but I'll take a look.
I'll take a look.
I'll take a look.
Just let me have a take a look there.
How you doing,
That's
Tim?
good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. It's just it's gonna be a good next few episodes, man. I can't wait for this. So we got some good discussion and stuff coming up. So we'll jump back around to you in a second here. We'll talk about some good topics for the roundtable here. But I would like to introduce everybody as well to the other man at the table. We have Dave. Big white headphones, Miles. I was waiting for you to jump in there, Tim. Weren't you going to give David a name this week?
No, it's fine. We already had our shit before we went on air. It's fine.
Dave, you were going to get it, man. I'm just putting it out there. You were going to get it. You had a name waiting for you.
Yeah,
but it's all good. It's all good.
I'll tell you during the break.
Okay. All right.
But to point out something in particular very, very awesome that happened this week, I would like to say, happy birthday, Tim, buddy. Tim's birthday was this week. Yay! Another year of watching movies, man. Another year of watching movies and enjoying horror. So, Excellent. Well, guys, like I said, we got a good couple of episodes coming up here, and really, what we'd like to do is just to let everybody know we're going to kind of change things up a little bit here. But tonight, the episode that we're going to be focusing on, by the way, episode 33, we're going to be talking about the Fulci 7 Gates of Hell Trilogy. And we're going to do it all in one, but we're going to keep the running time low. Okay, and there's a purpose behind this, and I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But guys, what's new? TV's been interesting lately. We got to talk about some of this stuff, guys. We don't spend enough time on this. You guys said so yourself. So let's kind of have a little bit of a discussion on that, man. What have you guys been watching lately?
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, Dave. What have you been watching?
I mean, obviously, horror TV has taken off over the years. We've just got so much good stuff on TV between Walking Dead, the spin-off Fear the Walking Dead, Bates Motel, which is wrapped up now, but I mean, a solid 5-season story arc. I'm super excited about The Exorcist coming back at the end of September for a season 2. I thought season 1 of The Exorcist knocked it out of the park. Like, just a ton of horror TV, and that's kind of what we were talking about before the episode started was, we'd like to focus a little bit more on horror television and, bring that more into the show simply because it's outstanding writing. I mean, it's outstanding television. As horror fans, we're getting more and more of it nowadays. And I'll be honest with you, I watch more television or more horror television than what I do horror movies nowadays. There's just more of it. Yeah. It's solid stuff. It's great. And moving forward, we're going to be bringing that on the show. And we're going to be talking about that more and more. I'm literally geared up to watch the season finale of The Mist. So that's kind of what, what I've been watching lately is The Mist. And, good good stuff.
Interestingly enough, you mentioned that you're getting ready for the finale of The Mist this month. For anybody who does not have Spike TV or access to it, this month in Canada, Netflix is going to be releasing The Mist on Netflix. So the TV series will appear on Netflix. Check it out. I've watched the first few episodes, but I'm the kind of guy at this point that I didn't want to go week to week with this one. It wasn't that it was a lack of anything good, and I didn't enjoy it by any means, but I did not want to dedicate that much time with everything else that I got going on. I figured this would be something that I'd binge later. So I'm going to be enjoying it when it actually hits Netflix myself. So good show. So, Tim.
Yeah.
You been catching anything, man?
I'm waiting for Walking Dead. I don't watch Fear the Walking Dead because I think that's inferior, horrible fucking show.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. I gave it a season and a half, and it did not do it for me at all. I hated the characters. The zombies are fantastic, but I hated the characters. I didn't like the story. I just didn't like it. It wasn't what I was promised. I was promised a very early on post-apocalyptic zombie setting, and The Walking Dead is far past that, right? So I wanted to see what it was like at the beginning of the apocalypse, and what do? They get on a boat and there's no fucking zombies at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
yeah, but
that's not what I was promised. All the teasers, all the things, it was all inner city. It had the LA vibe. No, dumb.
So, the first season they weren't on a boat. It was LA ground zero. Could it have been better? Yes. I definitely had issues with the first season. I stuck with it. I wanted to see where they were going as far as, the boat and how that was all going to intertwine. You've obviously never seen the rest of the second season. They were only on the boat for the first half, and then they ended up in Mexico. Yeah. And the third season, the first half they were in Mexico. The second half they've crossed the border. They're back into the U.S. I mean, yeah, is it as good as The Walking Dead? No. But you know what? I have the same types of issues you have with Fear the Walking Dead. I have those types of issues with The Walking Dead. I thought The Walking Dead, Season 1, knocked it out of the park. Season 2, I thought was just too much of a drama and not horror. Season 3 and 4 were pretty decent. It's got better. Certainly last season with the introduction of Negan, the end of Season 6 and all of Season 7 were really, really good. So it's kind of starting to turn around again, but man, I'm telling you, there was a lull in The Walking Dead where I'm like, do I even want to watch this anymore?
Yeah, Season 2 was kind of, Season 3 was kind of, Season 4 started, okay, and then, where we are now, I'm like, yeah, Walking Dead! Besides that, though, I guess the only kind of real horror-related thing, I've been watching on the History Channel, this documentary series of American Ripper, where they believe they can find out that the serial killer H.H. Holmes was in fact Jack the Ripper. That's kind of what I've been watching TV-wise. Obviously, my movies are still in there, but TV-wise, besides that and Game of Thrones, but...
Oh, Game of Thrones. Oh, my God.
And Game of Thrones has horror elements in it. You saw those
White Walkers. The zombies, the White Walkers. That's right, man. That's right.
Man.
That's good.
Game of Thrones is probably the best show on TV, and I'm going to be so upset when it's done, because I look forward to that every year since the first season.
Yeah, I mean, I bought all the seasons up to now. I'm just, when next season's over with, I'm just going to have to go back and just rewatch it, because the show has huge replayability for me, so... I'm in agreement
with a big fancy box set, kind of how they did with Breaking Bad and the drum, with this.
But it'll be like the dragon
egg.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, no, I'm on the same page when it comes to Game of Thrones. I've been watching that religiously since the first season, and every week that it's on now. I totally left Fear the Walking Dead in the dust with me as well. I might go back and watch it at one point just to say I did. But I mean, The Walking Dead itself, I love The Walking Dead. But in terms of what I've been watching lately, the two horror shows, or somewhat horror shows for one of them, that have really taken my interest. One, have you guys ever seen Preacher?
No. I know what it is. I know that it's based on graphic novels, comic books, or whatever. Maybe watched part of an episode, but never really. I don't have AMC, so.
Yeah, totally amazing. Jackie Earle Haley in the first season, and everybody that's in the second season so far. Absolutely awesome. The shit that happens, the gore, the blood, the oopsie times that, like something happened and it shouldn't have. It's fantastic. It's really fun. Yeah. Oh no. There's a couple times when, not to get into too much detail, but the preacher himself, who has this power called Genesis, where he can kind of control people and make them do shit. He'll make somebody do shit and then forget that he made them do something, and all of a sudden they're dead, because somebody shot them or whatever. It's cool stuff. It's fun. But I recently had a pretty shocking discovery for TV. A couple of people had pointed out an article to me where they basically said, this television show is making people sick to their stomachs. You need to watch this. Tell us what you think of it. And it's a show, I think it's on the USA Network, and it was called Sinner. It stars Jessica Biel. I watched the first episode, and I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not a lot makes me sick to my stomach when it comes to movies or anything else. I'm kind of, desensitized that way. But
you're a wuss.
Yeah, I'm a wuss. But you can see what this would do to people watching this show. Little bit of a spoiler here, but basically the first episode has to do with Jessica Biel being a somewhat unhappy average housewife. She looks drab and dreary in this, just like the weird bangs and the long hair, and just wears sweatpants all the time. Nothing. She doesn't fancy up, and it's not Jessica Biel. Like,
we get it, Adam. Keep going.
Yes, keep going. And on this one day out at the park, actually it's a beach. Sorry, with the park on the side of it. They're sitting in the sand, and there's like this couple of teenagers that are like kind of half making out on the beach there, and the girl gets on top of the guy, and then the guy gets on top of the girl, and she's like sitting there cutting up like a pear for her son, and she gets up and she runs over and she stabs the shit out of the guy with the paring knife, just out of and it's gory, it's bloody, it's violent, it's vile, and just blood and guts everywhere, and she's just stabbing the shit out of this guy. And then she gets arrested and she ends up in jail. And then there's some other things that kind of start to put the story together as to why she would have done this. And the whole first episode actually tells a wonderful story, almost like it could have been a short film all on its own. And I just can't wait to see where it goes from there, because I got a real Frailty vibe from it. And Frailty, Bill Paxton, one of the great movies, of his career, and it was really good.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it? All right, Dave. Maybe we'll do an episode one time.
Bill who?
Who? Bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's that?
Braille. Frailty? Never heard of it.
Sounds stupid.
Lovely. Oh man. So, other than that, that's a bit out for TV and stuff like that, and just other kind of random stuff. But guys, there's something very important that we have to talk about here. I gotta kind of take a minute. I gotta take the mic. Talk. I hate
it when he does this.
I know. I feel like some kind of like public service announcement. Like,
Dave, you're fired. Tim, you're fired. I've hired a whole new crew.
Screw
you, man.
Screw you, man. That's it. He's talking.
I never liked you.
Wait a minute. Okay.
I mean,
everything makes sense now.
Everything makes sense. All right, shut up.
All right, go.
So,
proceed.
Gentlemen, something that we've known for a little bit now, but we're going to announce this to our listeners. Ooh. We have been contacted by a PR representation for a company by the name of Ship to Shore Productions. Ship to Shore Productions, based out of Brooklyn, does vinyl re-releases of soundtracks for movies and video games and stuff like this, and they do have a specialty in horror. What they have done is they are responsible for bringing the amazing Italian composer FABIO FRIZZI to Brooklyn, or to New York, for a concert series late October. And what they've asked us to do is to promote it a little bit. Fine. We love FABIO FRIZZI, and it all plays into what we were actually planning for our series anyway, talking about the Gates of Hell Trilogy with Fulci. But we will be having Mr. Frizzy on the show within the next 2 episodes. Yeah! So we get to talk to the legend, the man himself, Mr. FABIO FRIZZI, who's worked with Lucio Fulci and has done some of the most iconic soundtracks and songs, or compositions that there have been for movies. Tim, when you found out about FABIO FRIZZI, you told me about one of your ringtones for years. Well,
see, the thing is that like it wasn't a name to me that popped out. Like, you know, when I'm watching an Italian horror film, like half the time like it's just a movie, right? Like I'm not thinking about. It's not like, you know, oh my God, George Romero's new, you know what I mean? Like I'm not really paying attention to that. It's just the film to me. It's not necessarily the people that made it. So I wasn't really familiar associating, you know, the Fabio stuff with songs that I knew. But apparently Quentin Tarantino used one of his songs in Kill Bill that happened to be my ringtone for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the hell? I get to talk to the guy that did my ringtone.
That did your ringtone. Well, that's a very basic way to put it, but that's yes.
Great. But no, well, the thing that I'm really excited, though, is that, like, you know, once I found this out, I started listening to more and more of his music. And, yeah, I know a lot of his music. I mean, you know.
Zombie.
Yeah, exactly, Zombie. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I wasn't at first. I was like, Fabio, who? And then, oh my God, this is the guy. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped.
See, this is what the show is all about, because we've said this before. There are times when we've just absolutely introduced each other to things, like new movies that Tim has started to enjoy, or music.
Or girls.
Jesus, man.
Sorry.
Never mind. But yes, so we will be having FABIO FRIZZI on the show. So that's going to be excellent. I can't wait for it. We're going to have some questions, you know, and we're just going to have a little nice Q&A session with him. And he's going to talk about, you know, kind of the show and his experiences and what's bringing him to, you know, to do this tour and everything else. So it'll be fun. A little bit of information for everybody. Anybody who's actually able to go to these concerts, it's going to be amazing. So on October 29th, he's going to be doing a brand new expanded composer's cut of the soundtrack for the new expanded cut of Fulci's The Beyond. So he's actually going to be playing the live score for the movie while it's playing. And Ship to Shore has some amazing pictures of him.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. That's actually really awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then the second date is October 30th. And October 30th is what they're calling Frizzy to Fulci. And it's basically he's going to be doing a live show of all of his greatest Fulci-based songs, you know, for all the movies. So, you know, he's going to have songs for, like, he's going to have the zombie theme, and he's going to have things, you know, from City of the Living Dead and everything else. So it's going to be amazing. And they're going to have, like, some limited edition vinyls for sale there, which are absolutely gorgeous. They're colored vinyls. And there's Zombie vs. Shark Edition, which is like aqua blue with red in the middle. And then there's Morgue Acid Bath, which is like a Technicolor look, like it's layered. And, you know, seeing the movie, you know what that really represents, which is awesome. It's going to be great. So check back with us, everybody. We'll be releasing the episode and telling everybody when it's actually coming out. And it'll be sooner rather than later, because we want to get that episode out and promote it for Ship to Shore Productions as well as for us. So, excellent stuff. So, yeah, that's where we're going. Guys, more celebrity guests!
Yay!
Hey.
I'm excited. I'm excited about this one.
We're
Absolutely.
excited. So,
the Beyond soundtrack has been on my playlist for years. I listen to it in the car when I'm driving. It's awesome. Like it's one of my favorite soundtracks.
It is a great piece of music. So
yeah.
All right, gentlemen. I think it's about time that we actually got into discussing tonight's topics. Get into discussing tonight's topics. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to discuss the Seven Gates of Hell Trilogy from Lucio Fulci. See you in a minute.
Greetings from Tromaville. I'm Lloyd Kaufman, president of Troma Entertainment and creator of The Toxic Avenger. You know, folks, when we're not making those great movies like Tromeo and Juliet and Return to Nukamai, a.k.a. Volume 2, the Troma team and I like to kick back and listen to They Cast from the Coast. They Cast from the Coast is really the best entertainment, the best education, and the best emotional liberation that Lloyd Kaufman can possibly experience. Thank you.
City of the dead. The living dead. A cursed city. Where the gates of hell have been opened.
You've got to. You must reclose those gates.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special broadcast. Dunwich police authorities have declared a state of emergency, effective immediately within Dunwich County. All citizens are requested to return to their homes as quickly as possible. In case of necessity, contact this station, Radio WDWC. The telephone number is 825-9881. All citizens are urged to remain calm.
Did you see, when you were in this trance, did you see anything besides that tombstone?
Oh, yes. I saw a priest who, by hanging himself, opened the gates of hell.
She's still here. She's still in the house. No, she's in here. I know she's been in the house. I don't want to see her anymore. Darren, get her out, please. Tell her to go. She's in here. Do you hear her? They're worms.
Guess what? It's All Saints' Day.
A demanding, implacable enemy whose search for blood is never satiated.
Welcome back, everybody, and now we begin the discussion of the night. We're going to start off with the first movie in the trilogy, The Gates of Hell, The Seven Gates of Hell, from Lucio Fulci. It's kind of interesting because it's the 7 gates, but we only got 3 movies. Do you think there was a plan for more?
Well, no, it's based on the 7 gates of hell.
Oh, well, yes, the actual story of the 7 gates of hell, but I'm just wondering, do you think that he ever planned for more?
Hard to say.
Okay.
I mean, he went off and did other things, after he was done making those movies, so I don't know, it's hard to say. What the funny thing is that it wasn't really a trilogy per se. It's the 7 Gates saga, and it was 3 independent stories that had to do with the 7 Gates of Hell. So I don't know.
I don't know. It all depends, I guess. He might have had a plan for it, but yeah. But the reason people do call it the Seven Gates of Hell trilogy is because they all came out in a very short amount of time, and they all had to do with the same theme, even though that they were very independent movies from each other. That's very true. So the first movie of the night that we're going to discuss is the first, what people would consider the first of the Seven Gates of Hell trilogy, 1980's City of the Living Dead. The movie centers around a reporter and a psychic who are basically battling to close one of the seven gates of hell after it's been opened due to the suicide of a preacher. Very obscure as to how this all occurs, but basically the opening of the movie has to do with the preacher hanging himself from a tree. And that visual is throughout the entire movie, because whenever he appears, which in some sort of a undead fashion, and a lot of people need to understand that the Fulci undead in this series of movies, the Gates of Hell movies, they're not like your zombie type zombies. These ones are kind of mystical.
Supernatural.
They're supernatural. They're mystical.
I don't know why I find that funny. They're mystical zombies.
Mystical zombies. They disappear, they reappear, they teleport, they jump, they appear in front of you. Whoa! No. It
is a good call, because, it is very much like how they would treat, almost like Jason Voorhees, where he's there a minute and then he's gone, and I know exactly. Mystical. Good word. Exactly. Good word.
Mystical. Very good word. So the movie itself is decent on story and plot in the fact that there is a purpose to what's going on. How this occurs is kind of the outlying factor here. Talking about story and plot for a second, once again, the whole idea behind a kind of a ragtag team of people come together to try to stop whatever's going on and figure out how this is all occur, it really works pretty well for the movie itself. The psychic Mary has one of the more interesting scenes in the movie where she actually, during like a seance, and she encounters the city of the living dead in her vision, is pronounced dead after suffering what appears to be like a seizure and a heart attack from it. And later on, she wakes up in the coffin, and it comes down to a really cool scene in the movie where basically the reporter ends up trying to dig her out of the coffin and almost killing her with a pickaxe. It's really, really a decent scene. The story itself plays really well with the fact that it goes from point A to point B very well, very easily done with how the actors come to find the place and visit people and meet people on the way and who else is involved. But there are some offshoots I found. I still don't know what the hell that guy who dies by the drill, I still don't really truly know what he had to do with the damn movie. He was just fodder.
It was a good death.
Yeah, exactly. and we'll get to talking about that later, yeah. But there were parts of the movie that didn't make any sense, and I'm just going to jump right to the end of it here for a minute here, because we want to talk about plot. The ending made no damn sense at all. I literally went back and watched the ending 3 times, going, what am I missing here? Rewind. What am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? And then I had to Google it. I literally sat in front of the computer. Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead, shitty ending. And there was so many websites dedicated to trying to figure out what the hell happened to the ending. And the ultimate response that we found out was the fact that the original ending that was shot was damaged. The footage was damaged, and they didn't have the budget to reshoot it. So he basically took the extra shit that he had and just kind of pieced it together and hoped it worked. Fine, that works for me. So, Dave, fill in, plot, story.
Well, I think City of the Living Dead. It took me several attempts to try to watch this movie over the years. I'll be honest with you,
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's an okay movie. It's not a great movie. It's got some really cool visuals, and I think it has a lot of promise. And what sold me on the movie initially was it's got a lot of Lovecraft references. The City of the Dead is Dunwich.
Yeah.
The book that they reference in the movie is the Book of Enoch.
Or Enoch, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Eben for a minute, but it's Enoch.
No, Enoch. And really, when you think about it, and Adam, the mystic zombies, as you call it. But look at it. The City of the Dead. It's the dead are coming back, but it's almost like some sort of rift in a parallel universe, right? Because look at the the situation at the bar with the earthquakes and the tremors and the stuff cracking. It's almost like we're cracking open a portal, to a parallel or alternate universe. And ultimately, isn't that what Lovecraft used to write about?
Yeah.
Right? Were these parallel universes.
The rift between the worlds.
Yeah. So you can look at City of the Living Dead as being steeped in Lovecraft mythos. It was heavily inspired by Lovecraft. Mm-hmm. I think the execution for this movie failed, though. It had a lot of promise, but like so many Italian horror movies, I find the story can be disjointed. It can be confusing. It's got, huge plot holes. The ending is a complete mess. It's like, what the hell happened there?
Yeah.
Again, really cool visuals. The guy getting the drill in the side of the head, who,
great
and
death.
if you don't recall, Giovanni Lombardo Radis, also known as John Morgan, was also in a ton of other Italian movies. He was in, most famously, Cannibal Ferox, as the guy that led the group, basically back into the cannibals' hands. That's where I knew him from, right? Obviously, he's a little bit younger in this one.
Yep.
But, it's got an all-star cast, as far as Italian horror goes. Catriona MacColl, who's in, every Fulci movie, pretty much, especially the Seven Gates movies. And I think she's a fantastic actress. It's got a lot going for it. It's just, it suffers from too many plot holes and some, a strange narrative. It's hard to follow. And I tend to lose interest in City of the Living Dead, unfortunately.
Agreed. They agreed. Tim?
I agree with everything that you guys are saying. Now, I went into this, I don't ever remember seeing this movie, and if I did, like I said, I forget. So it's basically me sitting down for the first time, watching this, specifically for this episode. The story was so, the characters started talking, and you had no idea who or what they were talking about. You didn't know their motives. And then all of a sudden, when you're almost about to try to figure it out, it cuts to some more random fucking people talking about shit that you don't know about. I feel that this movie's prime focus was gore. And as a horror fan, there's nothing wrong with that. But me, I'm going to be a little bit of a horror snob. It takes more than amazing gore and an amazing soundtrack, because the soundtrack was great, to keep me invested. I thought this movie sucked. I thought it sucked. It, like Dave said, it had promise.
Oh, yeah.
But it sucked. You could tell that Fulci's, fingerprints were all over it. You could just tell it was one of his movies, but not one of his best movies. I was really disappointed, and I want my hour and 20 minutes back.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, you guys bring up some good points as well. Talking a little bit more about the gore and effects, though. Yes, this movie had some great gore and effects. The best death scene in the movie was some of the best gore that we've seen in this. Yes, the drill to the head, which, once again, that scene had to do with a random fodder character that I still had no clue what the hell he had to do with the movie. But
it didn't matter
because he got killed by the drill. And when it shows the overhead view looking down, and he's wriggling, and the drill's right through the head, and it's going, I was like,
what a great effect.
This looks great. It was fantastic.
The thing that I like, because it was at this point in the movie where I came to the realization that, like I said, the focus of this movie was just to do gore, because you got this guy that broke into this garage. Did he know the girl? Did he not know the girl? I don't know, but he was in the car. She wasn't bothered by it. They're about to smoke a joint or something, and then the father comes and just kills him, because that's the reaction you have, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
And he didn't just kill him any other way. It was this elaborate process of getting him over to the drill. The drill gets turned on, and then he slides him into it. Like, great.
Slow.
Yeah, it was great. It really built up the tension. Completely pointless. But I loved it. It was literally the only silver lining of this movie watching experience was that it was awesome.
That being said, I did thoroughly enjoy some of the set pieces. So when it comes to some of the effects, the set pieces. So near the ending of the movie, when they're in the underground, with the bodies hanging below the cemetery, out through the bottom, and it was beautiful looking, very morbidly beautiful looking.
Yeah,
the way that
but
it was done.
Kind of corny too.
Yeah, a little bit.
It looks like, look, I decorated my lawn for Halloween. Like, that's the vibe I got. Like, it didn't lend itself visually very well. Like, obviously, I could tell the aesthetic that they were going for, but to me, what you're talking, it was corny. It looked like someone went all out for Halloween this year. Like, that's what it looked like to me.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to shit on it, but it's just...
No, that's fair enough. Dave, what do you got to say about it?
I do mean to shit on it.
I think Tim has a good point, actually. Now that, mentally I'm going back and visualizing that scene, I'm like, yeah, you know what, it probably could have been a little bit better. I mean, I guess, it could come across as kind of hokey. Yeah, I don't disagree.
I don't disagree. Spirit Halloween-y.
Yes! Spirit Halloween-y! Yes!
Man, I'm coming up with all the nomenclature tonight, Mystic Zombies, Spirit Halloween-y.
So, obviously Tim says, his favorite scene is the drill scene, right? The drill to the head.
Yeah.
But, I mean, my favorite scene, even though the drill to the head is awesome, that would come in second. My favorite scene is not necessarily based around gore, but based around tension. And I told Adam this even before we started rewatching the movies for this episode. I said my favorite scene in City of the Living Dead has always been when the reporter is hearing Catriona MacCall yelling from the grave, from her casket.
Yeah.
And he takes the pickaxe, and you see it come down, and then all of a sudden the inside of the coffin... Oh, I mean, and then he pulls back that last one, and you see her in the casket, and she's screaming, and she's all white and pale, and like that scene just stands out to me. That is great cinematography. That's great tension. It's a great build-up. I love it. I think it's top-notch.
No, absolutely. But you think from a story standpoint, how dumb it was.
Oh, no, for sure.
Just think about it. Like, why would this guy go at it with a pickaxe?
Yeah.
When he could have just brushed off the dirt and opened the goddamn coffin.
Oh, totally. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Do you know what I mean?
It makes
like the
no
whole time
sense.
I'm thinking he's gonna get this girl in the head.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She's alive in the coffin and he's trying to save her. He's gonna kill her.
And that's what the audience is expecting, right? I mean, obviously they don't, but I mean, that's the only reason it's like the drill setup. There's no point in it other than for, audience reaction.
Yeah.
It makes no sense whatsoever, but it's a really cool scene.
It was. And that was like pretty close to the start of the movie too.
Yeah,
it was like only like the first
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because
20
just
minutes.
Died. Yeah. Died.
Yeah, they died. Exactly. The movie did have some interesting visuals that led to some really good trivia about the movie, too, by the way. So there was that one scene. It was kind of what a lot of people claim to be the most disgusting scene in the entire movie, regardless of the fact that I just want to point out something. Is it just me, or do these zombies really like pulling off the back of people's heads and squishing their heads?
Yeah.
That was like every other death was that. So,
but I
almost
almost
sense.
Yeah, I think that was a budget thing.
Yeah, probably.
I mean? Like,
it was the same dummy. They just redid it every time.
Yeah, I think it was a very easy death. I mean, they kind of blew their wad with the drill scene. It was going on both sides. Like, I have no idea how they did that. Well, yeah, I kind of do, but it was great. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm past it now. I'm past it. I'm good.
But that being said, what a lot of people claim to be the most disgusting scene in the movie actually had to do with how many pounds was it? It was
the maggots.
Holy crap! It was like 22 pounds, 10 kilograms of live actual maggots that were literally thrown into high-powered fans and blown through the windows at the actors.
Yeah.
Apparently the main actor who played the journalist and Lucio Fulci did not actually get along very well during the entire movie.
Yeah.
And when they filmed that
Can't
scene,
imagine
and
why.
they were like, covered in it. It was in their hair and everything else. After that scene, he had apparently picked up a handful of them and put them in his pocket. And Lucio Fulci was infamous for having his pipe and tobacco on set, and he had actually snuck a bunch of them into his tobacco bags just to get back at him. So, like, he'd pull out his tobacco, and, like, all of his tobacco had, like, maggots writhing in them, and all of it was just shitty. So, practical joking on the set and everything else, but they did not like each other, and that was the last draw for him, was getting blown with 22 pounds of maggots flying at him, so...
Yeah, I watched that scene, and I seriously wanted to blow chunks.
That's how they were all in little groups on their face. And
yes.
It was getting in their mouths.
That's how they glued them on, right? Just here's a batch of maggots for you. So.
Disgusting. Totally.
All right, guys. Overall impression of the movie, Dave.
Again, it showed a lot of promise. I think the execution failed, and that's the only way I can describe it. I mean, it had everything going for it. I'm not sure if it's something that was lost during translation, literally, where it was a foreign film with some American actors and some Italian, with the dubbing. The visuals were cool. Again, it had so much going for it. He couldn't pull it off, as far as I'm concerned. It falls flat. I wanted so much more from it, but I didn't get it.
Fall flat on his face. Tim.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Dave. You think someone like Fulci would, he made Zombie.
That he did.
Excellent movie. No problem with that whatsoever. But when it came to this one, yeah, it's just, like, it was uninteresting characters. I thought the acting was horrible, but again, that could be attributed to the dubbing. But, seeing an English actor dubbed in English is kind of weird anyway.
Yeah.
I felt that a lot of the sets were corny when they were trying to be scary.
Spirit Halloween-y.
The only thing that saved this movie was the gore and the soundtrack.
Fair enough. So overall for the movie, that's you pretty much have my sentiments there, Tim. The gore and the amazing soundtrack by Mr. Frizzy it just added to it. I thought that the soundtrack was just fittingly amazing in it. It was there, it was in your face, and it was great. Gore, yes. Effects, yes. I like some of the set decoration. I'm sorry, Spirit Halloween-y or not, but it is what it is. Overall, the movie, watch it to say that you seen it. That's all I got to say.
Really? Because I did that, and I'm not happy to admit that.
Well, that's fine, because, Tim, we're going to move on now to the next movie of the night.
You are Liza, aren't you?
Yes.
My name is Emily. I've been looking for you. Go back to where you came from and hurry. Leave this place. "60 years ago, everybody in this hotel disappeared. Every last person. A painter called Spike, who lived here, closeted in his room, had found a key.
Tell me, with all those accidents, you think you'll give it up now?
I couldn't do that if I wanted to.
The Beyond. Dave, story and plot. Take us out, buddy. Story and plot.
Story and plot. Well, The Beyond is probably my favorite Fulci movie.
Ever? Like, out of all the Fulci movies, this is your favorite one?
Like, frig right off.
Even more than Zombie.
Even more than Zombie.
Wow.
Yeah.
But in Zombie, there's a shark versus a zombie. Where was that in this?
No, I know. I get you. Zombie is definitely number 2, but The Beyond, and I think a lot of it has to do with the soundtrack and the visuals. There's a lot of really cool visuals in The Beyond. I mean, certainly the plot of The Beyond, again, it's number 2 in the unofficial Gates of Hell Trilogy or Gates of Hell Saga, the 7-Gate Saga with Fulci, and it's essentially based around this hotel in Louisiana called the Seven Doors Hotel or the Seven Gates Hotel. Yeah. And this hotel is actually built on one of the 7 Gates of Hell. Mm-hmm. And the beginning of the movie takes place back in like the 1920s, 1927, I think it is. And this supposed warlock is killed basically by a lynch mob and crucified. And much like City of the Living Dead and the suicide of the priest, the killing of this warlock and his crucifixion in the hotel actually opens one of the gates of hell. So that's the intro, like that's the opening part of the movie, and then fast forward 40, I think it was like 60 years later, 50 years later, Catriona MacColl, again, stars in this one, and she has inherited the hotel, and she plans to reopen it. And, of course, you know, like typical Italian movies, you know, we're treated to a bunch of over-the-top gore, major plot holes, some disjointed narrative, and as she's trying to open this hotel, we're introduced to a bunch of interesting characters, to say the least. You've got Joe the plumber, and you've got the painter that falls off and like breaks his back, and of course poor Joe the plumber gets his eye poked out and killed in the basement. And you get you just get an assortment of weird characters that are pretty much standard for any Italian horror movie. And The Beyond is one of my favorite movies. It's certainly my favorite Fulci movie, but that it doesn't go without saying that I don't question the reason behind certain characters that are introduced in this movie. So ultimately, you know, the gate of hell is opened beneath the hotel, and it just gets progressively worse. We're seeing images and zombie-type creatures similar to what we were introduced to in City of the Living Dead. Mystical zombies. We're introduced to, and I can't remember her name, but it's the blind girl that has the dog. Mm-hmm. The dog, Dickie.
Yes. You don't remember her name. She's like on the cover of the book. But you remember her dog's name is Dickie.
How can you forget the dog's name? How can you forget Dickie? You know,
I don't know, Dave.
Certainly some memorable kills, you know, with Dickie, you know, attacking her and ripping her throat open, and
Dickie went for the jugular.
Dickie went for the jugular, yeah. But I mean, you know, but
she had a Dickie in her face, you know.
She had a Dickie in her face, yeah.
Oh man, I could go on all night, but we're not gonna.
Okay, this is what you get, man, with some of these Italian horror movies. Again, you know, is it lost in translation? Maybe Dickie means something else in Italian. I don't know, but in English, it's Dickie.
It's very penisy, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. But, you know, it's certainly it's you know, The Beyond. I love the movie so much. I mean, I bought the Grindhouse Special Edition Blu-ray a couple years ago when it came out. It actually comes with the remastered soundtrack from Fabio Frizzi.
I do love the cover of that.
Oh, it's totally awesome. It's great. I mean, it's a great package. The soundtrack is fantastic. Again, the movie's got some really cool visuals. Again, it borrows a lot from Lovecraft. It's the Book of Enoch. Sorry, the Book of Eben or Ebon. in this one.
It's Eben in this one, yes.
It's Eben in this one, whereas it was Enoch in City of the Living Dead.
Okay.
The Beyond itself, I mean, when you look at the painting and certainly the iconic ending of the movie, right, where what's his name, David Warbeck and Catriona MacColl end up in the Beyond. I mean, they go blind. It makes sense because it follows in with, like it's some really cool visuals and definitely, again, steeped in Lovecraft. Mm-hmm. But this movie still suffers, from a lot of the stuff from City of the Living Dead as far as narrative and plot holes and where did this character come from? Where's the story going? Like, I don't totally understand what's happening here or the reason behind it. But, I mean, hands down, I love this one much more than City of the Living Dead.
All right. Well, Tim, what do you think of the story and the plot?
It's basically it's City all over again.
Oh, fair enough.
Like it's
I think it's
beginning.
Comparisons. Yeah.
It's beginning to make me question his directing ability. Do you know what I'm saying? I just felt like, okay, so maybe this is a staple of Italian horror where they would focus more on the gore and the spectacle as opposed to what's important to a story, which would be plot and characters. But, okay, but with this one, I felt that the gore wasn't as good as it was in City.
No, it's true.
And I'm beginning to think that Fulci has, like, a fascination with poking out eyes. Because that seems to be his go-to violent act in every one of his movies. Even Zombie, the best gore in that was in the eye. So, but I just felt like the execution in this, it was just poor all the way around. I wasn't a fan of it. I felt that it was trying to be too artsy.
Yep.
I see that. Yep. I wasn't a fan, and I actually did see this before. I forgot that it was called The Beyond, but because I remember the scene at the end where they're running through the hospital morgue thing, and he shoots the little redhead girl right in the face.
Oh, yes,
yes, awesome, right, but right in the face. I don't know. I just, I was disappointed. It didn't have an impressive plot to me. Again, it was very subpar characters. The acting, it could have been lost in translation. I don't know. But this one, this one that hurt for me was the gore wasn't there. At least with City, it had that gore. Yeah. It was good. I just felt that the special effects, while they were impressive for the day, they weren't as good as it should have been.
They didn't hold up.
Yeah, and I like when he gets her when he picks her up and puts her on the nail that just so happened to be in this wall with no nails. This one nail that was like 3 inches, magically, mystically goes right through her head and pops out her eye. Like, it just didn't make sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense.
Fair enough. Okay, so in terms of story and plot, for me, this movie was the most well-rounded in terms of the fact that it closed the loop on certain things. I loved that the ending was what it was. It had the best ending of the entire trilogy. It really did. Seeing the painting kind of come alive as a depiction of the Beyond when they become part of the Beyond, like when they enter it, and then they go blind, and it kind of comes full circle. You see it at the beginning, it's being depicted, and all of a sudden they're there. It was the best ending, though, and it made more sense.
It was better than a little kid running at the camera because they deleted the footage. Yes.
However,
go ahead.
They had an ending, which is why it was the best of the trilogy. But that being said, it was still not the strongest by any means. The gore, I agree, was not there. I pissed myself laughing when the tarantulas were ripping the guy apart.
Yeah, because
that was a joke. Yeah,
and the fake tarantulas, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, my lip is gone because a tarantula ripped it off. Okay, whatever.
That scene. I agree totally. That scene is like the drill scene, but not as good. It's like
no, you can't compare that to the drill scene at all.
No, but not as good. It's what I meant by that was it's a scene that makes no sense. It's a kill for the sake of a kill. It doesn't propel the story forward in any way whatsoever. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just we need to kill somebody here in the scene. We've gone 5 minutes without a kill. What can we do here?
That's true, except for the fact that mystically he dies, because, in my opinion, the only thing that made sense about this kill was the fact that he was getting close to something. Because, like, it shows the book fall to the floor, and it shows, like, the plans of floor
and it disappeared.
And mystically he was murdered, but still, it's
you can't keep chalking it up to mystically.
Okay, fine, I'll stop talking about mystical.
See, the thing for me is I just feel like Fulci has no idea how to build tension or suspense. Like, I just felt like every kill that he would set up, he would just draw it out. And he felt that was building tension when really, like, it was like, like the I don't know, like, it left me bored. Okay. Like, I just felt that it wasn't, like, City, though littered with things I very much dislike, I almost preferred over this.
I agree with you on that. Overall, it was very iconic in the way that it looked, and even though The Beyond has a lot of beautiful visuals and the way that it's set up, it's good that way. Yeah, I kind of almost preferred City too.
But he shot her right in the face. Right in the face. It was awesome.
Best death scene in the movie by far for me was, and it wasn't even the death scene itself, it was the best gore in the movie in my opinion, was in the morgue with the acid bath.
Yeah, but again, it was drawn out, man.
It was. It's like, acid.
She stood there for 5 minutes.
Watching her mother get bathed in acid in her face.
Yeah, and the effect was really well done. But the execution, like, I just felt that people were idiots. Okay, so you got the guy at the end, and he's shooting, right? Trying to get out of there. Shooting. And the first couple ones, you'd think a normal person in this situation, he's shooting the body, and it's not doing anything. Then he shoots one in the head. Okay, this is how you take these bastards down.
And then he goes back to shooting the bodies.
And then he goes back to shooting them in the goddamn body. And I'm like, this guy is an idiot. I hope he dies horribly.
And he does. But he doesn't die on camera. He ends up in the Beyond, so it is what it is.
Yeah, with their fake
eyeballs.
Blind eyes at the eyeballs.
All right. Dave, overall impression of the movie? It's your favorite of the Fulcis?
It's my favorite of the Fulci movies. Zombie comes in second, but I have to put The Beyond just one peg above Zombie for me, and it's only because of the visuals. It's artsy, and I think, you know what, Tim? I honestly think that's probably why I'm drawn to it, is because it's a more artsy film.
It reminds you of Suspiria, didn't it?
What? I'm not a huge fan of Suspiria. I appreciate it, but I'm not. No, you got me confused with Adam. You're gonna get him upset. You're gonna get him upset. Be careful what you say about Suspiria.
All right, you're centered.
I'm centered.
Right. So I like The Beyond mainly because of the visuals, certainly because of the soundtrack. I think it's a good movie. Personally, I think it's a good movie. I wouldn't have bought the Blu-ray if I didn't think it was a good movie, and I like it. I watch it every now and then.
Perfect, Tim.
It just like City, it had an amazing soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
it was really good. Like, I have it on Spotify now. Like, it's really good. But that's all this really had going for me, in my opinion. I do appreciate that Fulci tried to get a little bit more artsy and tried to switch it up a little bit, but I just felt like everything that he tried in this movie fell flat. And I mean, there's a reason why movies take a long time to make. because you want to try to make them good. And this came out how many months after City? Like not even a year? Maybe a year?
Yeah, it's like a year.
Like there was it felt like there was no effort put into this whatsoever. At least with City, there was an effort. It wasn't a good effort, but there was an effort. This one,
a visible effort.
Yeah, this one, it just felt it felt very weak and unfulfilling.
Okay, fair enough. So overall with this movie, I like it visually. It's wonderful that way. I'm not a fan of most of the gore in this movie. Like you said, it takes away from it because you expected it after watching City at the least, or after knowing the rest of Fulci's movie. So you'd expect a little bit better. I did like some of the character ideas, like the blind chick was cool and Dickie was funny. You know, just everybody likes saying Dickie now. But I do like the ending, so it had a better ending, and the soundtrack was fantastic. It's very iconic, like you, Tim. I have it on Spotify, and it's just fantastic. So overall, not as good as City of the Living Dead, but the soundtrack, separate from all that, is better. It's much better. So, ladies and gentlemen, time to talk about our next movie in the series.
What do you say to a widow who finds out her husband butchered his mistress and then took his own life?
That's where Peterson hanged himself from that iron
However, I told you very clearly.
I tried, but my mother wouldn't listen. She said Daddy had to do some research here.
You shouldn't have come, Bob. You shouldn't have.
Why would a man like him slaughter the woman he loved and then hang himself?
Well, I don't know. Human mind.
Yeah, a research project on suicide with a researcher commits suicide.
Don't go inside, whoever you are. Don't go inside.
Someone's in here, Mommy! There's someone down there! Get the door open!
Where's the axe? Where's the axe? Mom! Keep away from the door!
No, I will!
Don't worry, Bobby. I'll get you out.
What? Who's there? Who's in this house?
Dr. Freudstein!
No, Bob. You should have listened to what I said.
House by the Cemetery. The third and final part of the discussion tonight, which is centered around, once again, the Seven Gates of Hell Trilogy. And this is an interesting one. So this one came out a little bit later. This movie pertains to Dr. Norman Boyle and his family. Dr. Norman Boyle takes over the from a colleague of his who committed suicide, takes over study and research on a Dr. Freudstein from New England. So it's another American-based location in this one here. And basically his colleague committed suicide, and that's the assumption of something going on, something's wrong, and he travels to the location and takes over the house where the study was going on and where Dr. Freudstein had apparently lived as well. And weird random shit begins to happen, terrorizing the family for all that it is. I don't know how much more of a plot I can get into, but let me just start off by saying...
I think you're done, dude.
Yeah,
done.
Exactly.
Good night!
Yeah, good night! All right. The plot doesn't get any better than that. This movie had the most far-fetched premise. And when I say that with all certainty, to the fact that the Beyond literally was talking about the other side, the Beyond and zombies and all that kind of stuff. And even City of the Living Dead, preacher commits suicide and appears mystical zombie type, and there's people's heads being ripped off and the back of the woman even pukes up her guts. We didn't even talk about that when it came to City of the Living Dead. She vomited her entire intestinal tract up. It was pretty funny. This movie's the most far-fetched.
It was pretty funny.
But this movie's the most far-fetched.
You're sick.
And why is this movie the most far-fetched in my opinion? This movie's the most far-fetched in my opinion due to the fact that the terror is already existing. It's already in the house. And it's spoiler alert, everybody. I'm not spoiling anything. The movie's from the damn early 80s.
30-year-old movie.
40-year-old movie. Dr. Freudstein is still alive, living in the basement. Nobody has found him. And he's still living in the basement of this house. And he is a somewhat undead character who's continuing his discovery into eternal life by basically murdering people and keeping himself alive by doing so somehow. That's part of his studies, I guess. Okay. I'm going to start on this one here, even though I gave the story and the plot already. I'm just going to let you know. This also had the most annoying damn character of the entire series, but I'm gonna assume that it has everything and anything to do with dubbing.
No, I don't think.
I'm trying to make it sound better that way, Tim, man. Don't take that from me.
No.
Bob, the kid. Oh my God, what an annoying piece of crap this kid is in this movie.
What did you describe him as before we started talking?
The original Babadook kid?
Yeah.
Because that's the one complaint that everybody had about the Babadook was the damn kid. This movie is my biggest complaint. This kid is the biggest complaint that I have about this movie. Because whenever he is in the scene, it detracts from everything else that's going on to me. The best scene in the movie, though, still has to do with the kid, in my opinion. And I'm not talking gore and effects. I'm talking the actual only scene out of the entire trilogy that actually kind of made me go, yeah, okay, cool, something's happening, was when the kid was trapped in the basement and the glowing eyes appeared. And there was tension building with the fact that the kid was trying to get out and there was something coming up the stairs, and the glowing eyes when they appeared, actually that effect that sits well with me. I liked it.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
It was really good. It stood out to me. But I was kind of hoping that kid would have like the back of his head, you know, like the rest of the people in the first movie. So it is what it is, I guess. Dave, acting story.
Out of the 3 Seven Gates movies, this one had the least amount to do with the 7 Gates of Hell, and it made the most sense, but the least sense. The most sense in that it was a much more straightforward movie. These people are going and living at the house, trying to research and figure out what the hell his coworker did to commit suicide. It was a more straightforward narrative, but that aside, again, plot holes. The movie was a complete fucking mess.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. It was a complete fucking mess. The kid was annoying. The dubbing was terrible. Yeah, some of the gore was pretty good, but it was by no means as good as The Beyond or City of the Living Dead or many other Fulci movies that have been made. I don't even know how to really describe House by the Cemetery. I mean, I had actually seen this movie an American cut movie way back in the day, like in the 80s, you know, a VHS store rental. I remember watching this movie, and I remember hating the fucking thing back then. But for some reason, people like it, and I've certainly revisited it over the years. I mean, I bought this DVD, you know, for like $5, you know, in the States one time when I was down there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give it another shot. House by the Cemetery, you know, it's popular enough. And I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's a weird movie. It's just, it has a more straightforward storyline, what should be a more straightforward storyline, but he still screwed it up somehow. I can't say anything else about it.
All right, Tim.
House by the Cemetery is not one of my favorite films. Okay, so like Dave said, I think out of all three of them in this trilogy, this was the most straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't good, but it was the most straightforward. It dragged pretty much the whole time. I was so bored watching this, I had to fight until about the last 15 minutes or so.
Mm, yeah.
Which, you know, there was you know, a cool gore scenes at the end, but I don't know, man. Like, it's just I felt that the pacing more so in this movie than the other ones is what killed this one for me. You know, it had elements of Amityville Horror, The Shining, because of the house.
Yeah.
Which made it a little bit more tolerable, but like I said, it was just. It dragged, and that fucking kid, man.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, like it's like, I mean, but at least by this point, watching these, because I watched all three of them back to back.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I was not expecting anything. I was just literally looking at the time, waiting for it to end. There was a couple, you know, like I said, there was a couple good gore scenes, but yeah.
And you know what? It had some good elements to it. I mean, at the beginning, you know, when it shows the girl looking out the window,
yeah,
and it's in the painting, and the little boy's watching it, and then it changes, and she's not there.
Mom,
it's got some really
girl.
It's but you throw that in, and it's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
But yet you go back to the images, right? I mean, it's a visual thing. It's like that quote that I read about Fulci there a few minutes ago while we were on break. His movies are definitely images, right? They're pieces of art.
What a hipster thing to say. What a hipster thing to say.
I know.
Not you, him.
No, I absolutely.
Okay, just in case you took offense, like I was saying.
No. But you know what? We were reading this, you know, on break. Maybe we should read that quote from Lucio Fulci for our audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay.
Just give me 1 second here.
So while David's finding that quote, though, so jumping in just a little bit here. This movie had one of the better gore scenes out of the trilogy, too. This was, in my opinion, this was the second best gore scene in the trilogy, was the throat slashing.
Yep.
Yeah,
I thought that was really well done. Like, it looked visually, viscerally amazing.
Well, for 1981, for them to accomplish that effect, it's near seamless. Like, it's real nice.
And it was like sawing at her neck and coming at it and stuff. And it was viscerally good. Dave, did you find the quote?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
All right, so spill it out.
So interestingly, when we were talking about The Beyond, and Tim had made the comment about it being a very artsy film, and we all agreed, and that was one of the things that I appreciated about the movie, was it's definitely more visual. And if you look at it from an artistic perspective, I mean, I think it succeeds. It's just the storyline, the plot holes, the narrative, it's disjointed. It's got a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. So I had actually found a quote from Lucio Fulci on The Beyond's reception. So apparently a lot of other people had the same thoughts that we did, and it's certainly a divided movie. And Lucio Fulci came back on the reception of The Beyond, the negative reception, I'm assuming, and this is what he had to say. People who blame The Beyond for its lack of story have not understood that it's a film of images, which must be received without any reflection. They say it is very difficult to interpret such a film, but it is very easy to interpret a film with threads. Any idiot can understand Molinaro's La Cage aux Folies, or even Carpenter's Escape from New York, while The Beyond or Argento's Inferno are absolute films. And that's a quote from Lucio Fulci on The Beyond's reception.
Okay,
It's a hipster thing to say.
And I'm just going to say it. It feels to me like if Fulci was a painter and I visited a museum and I saw his painting, it would be a white fucking dot on a black background. And if I didn't say that, automatically it reminded me of the birth of a nation and all kinds of random freaking fireworks type bullshit that I didn't understand as art.
No. You want to know what's a work of fucking art? Do you want to know what's a work of art? John Carpenter's Halloween. Work of fucking art.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
There's story, there's cinematography, there's a mood, there's a feeling. You're supposed to feel something when you see a movie, okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fulci is a hack.
I can't go as far as saying that because he has made some great movies.
I take it back.
We love you, Fulci, but still.
But when it comes to regards to this trilogy, okay, this trilogy was horrible. It was horrible. It was rushed. He put out 3 movies in under 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And none of them reached anything near what he did with the time that he took to make Zombie.
Zombie's perfect.
Yeah, Zombie's great. Zombie's great.
I want to address our audience, and I want to take that back. Fulci is not a hack. It's just I want that 4.5 hours that I invested in these films. I want it back. I want it back. And if Fulci can't give it to me, who suggested these? Dave? Dave, you owe me 4.5 hours of my life back, Dave.
So what you're saying is Dave's not allowed to suggest movies for the next little while.
That might be a little harsh. That might be a little harsh, but it might be the discipline that he needs.
It might be the discipline. It's not the discipline we want, but it's the discipline he needs.
I'm banned from suggesting any movies for the next month.
No,
sorry.
No, don't be, because this was a good conversation, guys.
It was.
You know, whether we agree with these movies or we enjoy them, we dislike them. It's a good conversation, and whether we like it or not, these movies are, I mean, they're ingrained, they're mainstream culture, right? I mean, they are movies that are in a lot of horror fan collections. I mean, I've got House by the Cemetery, The Beyond, Zombie, New York Ripper. I've got 2 different versions of Zombie. I mean, I've got the American cut, 7 Doors of Death of The Beyond. I mean, you know, I've even got a copy of City of the Living Dead, you know what I mean, on DVD, a 2-pack. I mean, I appreciate the stuff. I may not always like them, but I mean, you know, they're part of horror culture. Yep. And Lucio Fulci is, you know, the godfather of gore, right? I mean...
Okay. No, that's fair enough. Okay, so overall, final impression, Dave?
You know what? The Beyond sticks out as probably the best of the 3, and certainly my favorite Fulci movie. I think the other 2 entries are fairly weak. Great visuals, and I think that's what Fulci was trying to get across in his quote, was they're works of art from a visual perspective. So, as an artist, I appreciate that. Is he completely right? No, not necessarily, because, I mean, this is not a piece of art that's hanging in a museum somewhere. This is a motion picture, not a still picture. And with a motion picture, you're telling a story. It's a narrative, right? And I think that's where some of these movies fall flat, is the lack of narrative in these movies, in these motion pictures. And that's where I see where the divide is, where the differentiator is, versus a piece of art hanging in a museum or a motion picture that we're watching on TV, where, you know, we're supposed to be spending an hour and a half and kind of zoning out and absorbing ourselves into the world of, you know, that the filmmakers created. Yeah. You know, they are what they are. I mean, they're always going to be recognized as horror works of art, whether we agree with it or not. It is what it is.
Sounds good. Tim?
Yeah, this trilogy, and just, you know, with the quote that Dave read of Fulci. Fulci is the Kanye West of Italian horror.
Oh!
Because...
Oh.
Yeah. Because while he does have talent, he absolutely does. He has a vision. He can't take criticism. Come on now.
That's true. That's true.
And I'm sorry, but if your 3 movies didn't suck, no one would have said anything. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want people to bitch, make better movies. No one bitched about Zombie.
Yeah, I agree.
I just feel that, like I said, I want my time back. I want my time back.
Fair enough.
I don't think Fulci's going to give it to me.
Probably not. Okay. Overall, I feel the same way. I feel the City of the Living Dead was probably the better of the trilogy in a lot of ways. But the ending really... If I took City of the Living Dead and put like the ending of The Beyond on it, it would be a much better movie. And then throw in some of the elements of the fact that, you know, there was some really cool deaths, like the knife in House by the Cemetery.
So what you're suggesting is that he should have just supercut.
Yes.
Of the best parts of these 3 movies.
And it would probably make about as much frickin' sense as each individual movie if it was all one movie cut with different characters. Doesn't matter because, well, you know,
and she's in all.
And she's in them.
Yeah, so it would make sense. Yes.
So yes, it would probably make more sense if he cut all 3 movies together and try to make some sort of a supercut. Now that being said, this movie, the final thing I'll say about House by the Cemetery is that while the soundtrack was acceptable, I could tell it was not Frizzy.
Yeah.
And that actually, it disappointed me the fact that Frizzy did not do the soundtrack to this to at least complete that. But I could tell it wasn't Frizzy. I can't shit on the guy. It worked for what it was, but it really did not have the same heart and feel. So I just got to put that out there. It's not a type of soundtrack that I'm just going to go and find and listen to over and over and over again. So, well, guys, that was a good conversation.
Was
good. We had a good episode tonight, and we are stoked because, once again, ladies and gentlemen, coming up, we're going to do a little bit more having to do with Lucio Fulci because we're going to be talking to Mr. Fabio Frizzi himself. So stay tuned for that. More information will be posted to our Facebook page. And until next time, Dave.
Good night.
Tim.
Stay spooky, everybody.
Stay spooky. Stay mystical.
Stay mystical.
Stay mystical. All
Adam's
right.
got his saying.
No, I'm not going to even bother. I just thought I'd bother Tim with it.
Stay mystical, everybody.
Stay mystical. All right. See you next time, everybody. Thanks for coming by. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in this week to They Cast from the Coast. We hope you enjoyed the topic and the discussion that we've had tonight. We're very excited about everything that's being produced right now in conjunction with the Misunderstood Art Company. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Say hi in the comments section. And just in general, check out the other content that's being offered, once again, under the Misunderstood Art Company. If you want to listen just to the audio portion of this show itself, we're making it available on iTunes, Google Play, and TuneIn on top of the YouTube channel itself. So thank you very much again for your continued support. Check out the rest of the Misunderstood Art Company's offerings. Might even see some familiar faces. And until next time, take it easy.